Hey all you cool crooks and killers, welcome back to True Crime Now, your #1 source on the internet for daily true crime videos. Criminals never fail to surprise us whenever we see felonies flashing on our screens. From the pettiest of crimes to the bizarre situations these criminals get themselves into. You can't help but wonder what they were thinking. But if you think you have already witnessed all the weird things criminals try to get away with, think again. Today, we are counting down the top 10 weirdest crimes of all time. Number 10. Taisha Russell and the booty call. Imagine texting your side chick for late night action, but you accidentally fall asleep before she gets there. Nothing too serious, right? You would think so. But be sure to never do this to Taisha Russell unless you are prepared for your house turn to ash. This is what happened to a man living in Woodbury, New Jersey in August of 2019 after he texted Taisha for a late night visit and failed to open the door at 4 a.m. when she arrived. After becoming increasingly frustrated with the scenario, Taisha sent a text to the man that read, "I see, you wanna die." She then went out and purchased lighter fluid, matches, and lighter at a nearby gas station and got to work on getting revenge. Luckily, the man escaped the Grim Reaper by jumping out of a window just as his house became engulfed by fire. Taisha was later arrested by the police after the man alerted the authorities. Phew! This lady just set the bar for don't play with fire to a whole new level. If you think this criminal made some questionable choices, just wait until you hear the laundry list of dumb things our #1 pick did just to claim some insurance money. Number 9. The Ramen heist. Criminals are well known for swiping jewels or holding up banks for cash, but in this heist, you'll see what's more precious than diamonds and money: ramen. In Fayette County, Georgia, a 53-foot tractor trailer carrying about $98,000 worth of ramen was stolen. Doing some quick math, ramen can be sold for anywhere from 29 cents per pack to $1. This means police were searching for at least 300,000 packs of ramen. The victim reported to the authorities that the tractor was left parked for about 5 days, and when he returned, the tractor and all the noodles were all gone. The tractor trailer was later recovered without the noodles, but the criminal was never caught. Well, whoever did this crime wiggled himself out of what could have been a hefty jail sentence for noodle theft. Number 8. The sleeping robber. What is the worst case scenario that could happen during an armed robbery? Maybe a tough hostage, running out of bullets, hearing sirens nearby? Nope. What about getting an untimely visit from the Sandman? That's exactly what happened to a man named Kanyoni Sedekia during a Texas burglary. This robber proved how crucial a good night's sleep is for everyone. Sedekia allegedly held the victim in the home at gunpoint after stealing $60 from him. After some time, Sedekia fell asleep, giving the homeowner a chance to free himself and run to a neighbor's house for help. The criminal ended up being discovered by the police sleeping on a couch with his gun still in his lap. Just to add insult to injury, Sedekia was held on a $60,000 bond for the $60 he stole. He should have listened to his mother and not missed his afternoon naps. Number 7. The Princess Maid. Have you seen Ocean's 8 before? Great movie, right? Well, if there is one crime that could have inspired that movie, it would be the story of Sarah Wilson back in the late 1700s. She was a former maid in Buckingham Palace for one of Queen Charlotte's ladies-in-waiting. Unfortunately, Wilson couldn't stop herself from being a little light-fingered about the Queen's gowns and jewels from time to time. After being caught stealing, she narrowly escaped the death penalty and was shipped to a faraway colony where she was sold as a servant. However, lucky as she was, Wilson managed to escape. Using some of her looted goods that previously belonged to the Queen, she managed to disguise herself as a royal. She impersonated the Queen's sister, claiming to the American colonists that there were some royal quarrels that caused her to forcibly leave Britain. Classy. This is why things turned crazy. It worked. Wilson began living a life of luxury as she was able to take out several loans and buy expensive items that her true self would never be able to afford. Her craze stopped when her master found out her scam and took her back to Baltimore. But I'm sure you can guess what she did next. Yep, she escaped again. She took a more low-key approach this time and settled down with a naval officer she had met. She stayed in the colonies and not much was heard from her after this as she vanished into history. Still a lucky peach. Number 6. The human ATM. They say that nothing's sweeter than the sound of an ATM dispensing your precious money. Brrr. But cops in Marion County, Florida just grimaced when a man they had just arrested started dispensing money out of his backside during a search. It started when the man named Patreon Stokes was pulled over by the cops for speeding. Upon opening his window, cops smelled marijuana that led to the discovery of various other drugs and a large amount of cash in his car. The police took Stokes into custody, but once they arrived downtown, a lot of money from the car had mysteriously vanished. Gravity quickly caught up with the criminal, causing numerous $20 bills that Stokes had hidden to fall to the ground. The police then said that they recovered over $1,000 from Stokes' bum. We're halfway through our countdown, and we have to say, some of these criminals didn't really think their plans all the way through. Keep watching to hear what our number 1 pick did and how many times he failed trying to commit the same crime. Number 5. He slept with who? As humans, we try to be understanding and accepting of each other's preferences and choices, even if they're a little off kilter. But some people take weird preferences in the bedroom a little too far. A man named Fidel Lopez was arrested for having sexual relations with an animal, to the point of almost killing his fiance's dog. He was reported by his fiancée to the authorities and ended up pleading guilty to aggravated animal abuse and sexual assault of an animal. Sadly, the dog had to be euthanized due to its injuries, but at least Lopez will be serving a hefty jail sentence for his cruel and gross acts. Also, in case you're wondering, yes, his fiancée dumped him. Number 4. Party at the Vatican. No one wants to say no to a party, right? Especially if you find yourself in a unique situation to throw a once-in-a-lifetime bash. So, in a desperate attempt to throw the greatest, loudest, coolest party ever, a priest named Monsignor Luigi Capozzi from Vatican City threw the city's biggest party to date. Well, party might be a bit of an understatement. More accurately, it was a drug-filled orgy for a large group of men. When the party got a little too rowdy, those passing by called the cops due to the large number of men seen coming in and out the priest's flat. This is where the police discovered the group of nude men clearly high on drugs together on the floor. While most of what they were doing is not inherently illegal, it is frowned upon in this highly religious city. The men were ultimately arrested only on drug charges. Who knew priests throw such crazy parties? Number 3. Kuno Hoffman, the Corpse Molester. In 1971, a deaf, mute worker was caught under a dragnet after being accused of kissing a cadaver in a morgue, then fleeing by trying to shoot a morgue worker. Fortunately, he missed, but this started to unravel some disturbing crimes when the authorities observed grave robberies and unearthed bodies being gnawed on and sexually abused. Police discovered Hoffman had an unnatural obsession with vampires and the undead, leading him to believe that he could transform into a handsome undead being by performing rituals on corpses. Hoffman stated that he believed the fresher bodies were the most effective, which is why he had begun killing people himself. Fortunately, this Edward Cullen wannabe was stopped dead in his tracks by authorities and will spend the rest of his life in prison. Number 2. The Berlin Butcher. We heard you love bacon. I mean, who doesn't? George Carl Grossman, a butcher, will certainly make you question your love for meat. Grossman, aka the Berlin Butcher, had a long criminal record, but nothing violent so far prior to his final arrest. A number of mutilated bodies were discovered by the police in the early 1920s, and it was announced that a serial killer was lurking around town. Grossman lived in a noisy neighborhood where it was typical to hear screaming mothers and crying infants every day. This gave way to the ability for Grossman to cover some of the loud screams of his victims. Grossman's neighbors eventually caught on that something was off about those late-night screams, and that the women entering his flat were never seen leaving. Neighbors phoned the authorities, who caught Grossman with a freshly murdered woman in his bed. This is when his neighbors put together the horrifying pieces of the puzzle. That despite the rampant famine in Berlin, Grossman never ran out of meat supplies to sell from his shop. The authorities estimated that over 50 women were lured, raped, killed, and consumed by Grossman and his unsuspecting customers from his hot dog stand in a nearby train station. He was then convicted and sentenced to death. But before his sentence could even land, Grossman hanged himself. So, who wants a hot dog? Wow, this countdown list has been equal parts weird and alarming. Let us know about some of the craziest crimes you've heard of and if we should do a part 2 to this video. Alright, here it is, our number 1 pick. Number 1, Death of Iron Mike. How desperate can a man be just to get what he wants? Well, 4 men who set out to murder Irishman Michael Malloy, aka Iron Mike, will answer the question for you. It started with Tony Marino and 3 of his friends, one of whom was a crooked insurance agent, planned to murder patron Mike Malloy by leading him to drink his way to death, then acquiring his life insurance. However, Malloy proved to be the wrong choice for the type of murder they were trying to pull off. The group tried everything they could think of, from giving him excessive amounts of alcohol, adding antifreeze to the booze, mixing it up with turpentine, horse liniment, rat poison, oyster soaked in wood alcohol, a spoiled sardine sandwich, and even adding metal shavings to his food. The soon-to-be murderers even tried running him over with a taxi and leaving him in the snow to freeze to death. But that just put Malloy in the hospital. 3 weeks later, he would appear at the speakeasy for another drink. Finally, in February of 1933, Marino and his friends decided to put a gas hose in Iron Mike's mouth while he was sleeping and turn on the jets. This ended Malloy's life instantly, and the 4 men thought they had gotten away with it. Shortly after, insurers got wind of the rumors surrounding Mike's death, and investigators unearthed his body to reveal the truth. This led to the arrest of Marino and his co-conspirators, and the 4 men were sentenced to death by electric chair for their scheme. There you have it, folks, the top 10 weirdest crimes of all time. Let us know if you liked the video, and make sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. True Crime Now puts out new videos every single day related to all things in the world of true crime. Until next time, don't be embarrassed to sleep with the lights on.